How do I turn it? Oh, that seems to do it. Thank you. Hello. I was asked to come here to talk about the University of Exeter's new MA in Magic and Occult Sciences, but when I wrote that abstract, I didn't know that you would be able to go read about most of what I was going to say in the New York Times, because it's recently just taken off in the news. Given that that's the case, I'd like to get into something a little more specific and a little more weird in this talk, and just use the first part to give you the basics of the MA, and the second part move into some stuff of interest to me, because I'm a scholar of medieval Arabic literature. I only convene the MA, which basically means that I brought together everybody at the University of Exeter who studies magic. So we are collectively experts in magic. I am an expert in a very narrow sort of field of magic, and so I'd like to use that as a case study for some of the things that I've been thinking about in relation to this MA. So it's the Magic Center. I have simply invited everybody who thinks that they study magic, however you want to define that, from maybe 6 or 7 different departments. Of course, the University of Exeter has a unique concentration of people who study these topics, and already a reputation for the study of these topics, given our, we had a Western esotericism degree, we had a witchcraft MA. So there have been previous degrees that focused on a very narrow sort of historical moment. We're doing all magic. Whatever you think magic means, that's what we're doing. And it's the slipperiness of the word magic itself that kind of allowed me to do this. So to my mind, the most exciting thing about this MA is the way that it's simply broken apart the disciplinary divides that have kept us divided, in unproductive ways. And even the bureaucracy of the university has had to accommodate itself to this, and it's been fantastic. And it's the power of the word magic, which is itself a magic word, that has allowed this to happen. So just to give you a kind of overview, or like a range of what we study, we have Daniel Ogden, a famous scholar of Greek and Roman witchcraft and magic. On the one hand, we have Brian Rappert, a sociologist who does close-up magic card tricks and thinks about illusion in politics. As he's teaching, he's doing magic tricks. So everything from that to that, and everything in between. We're housed in the Institute of Arab and Islamic Studies, mainly because that's where I'm housed, and I just happen to have the time and energy to set this thing up. But also because medieval Arabic literature, which is what I study, is, in my opinion, the crossroads, the center of these studies. As you all know, the medieval Arabic-speaking people translate it and adapt it, ancient Greek and Roman and other ancient traditions, ancient Jewish traditions, and profoundly influenced the European reception of these texts in ways that would surprise you, really specific ways. So magic circles, crossroads, dirt from the graveyards, empty out the house and sweep it and address the East. All of these like really specific things that you have in your head about the practice of ritual magic are found in medieval Arabic literature and were adapted there, which is something that most people don't realize. So if you want to study magic, the Middle East, the medieval Middle East, is the center. That's where it should be based. Of course, that's what I would say, because that's where I'm based. So you can either write your dissertation with us in the Institute of Arab and Islamic Studies, and that's if you want to do a sort of history or a literary study, some of the more kind of traditional methodologies with a little room for creativity. But you can also do your dissertation with the drama department. And if you would do the dissertation with the drama department, you can explore some more performative, embodied ways of knowing. Maybe some of the things like what the previous lecture was describing. In a lot of ways, it's quite a traditional sort of humanities degree, but we are trying to leave room open for people to explore some radical new methodologies as well. We also have the psychedelics research group at the University of Exeter, as many of you know, who are also, they're our allies, and they're also looking at some really interesting ways to kind of break open academic research in new directions and include embodied knowledge and experiential knowledge in their research. It's really good to have that methodology laid out for me, actually. I hope that I can use that to help some of our students, so that was very handy. One little thing I've been trying in the core module, which I'm already running, is asking students to participate in a dream forum. So first of all, to write down their dreams, because we all know in a different way every night. We all go into a visionary state every night. So simply to acknowledge that and respect it, like most cultures have respected dreams as a potential source of insight, and for some reason modern Western culture considers them nonsense, but we're really the outliers there. So if we're going to be a little honest and courageous about trying alternative epistemologies, that's one of the catchphrases, then that's a safe and easy way to start. Everybody can just take some time to respect and acknowledge their dreams. And if they have a dream pertaining to their research or to our class, I have invited them to post it in the Dream Forum, which is an online discussion. They haven't engaged with that as much as I like so far. I think for the most part, the students are hoping to cling to the old ways. So, you know, I'm not going to force them, but these are sort of the baby steps I've been taking so far. And this is what I want to talk about, really, is dreams. From the perspective of, from the perspective of this work I've been doing on a 13th century book of magic spells by a man named Sirajuddin Asakaki, the Kitab al-Shamil, or the Book of the Complete, book of jinn summoning, devil summoning, talismans, all manner of things like that. And I've been working on an essay called The Dream Theory of Translation while translating this book. So I should first explain that the realm of dreams, or the alam al-khayal, world of images, has been described as an intermediary realm between heaven and earth, where the souls of the deceased await their final judgment. This realm is sometimes referred to as the barzakh, a word that connotes a borderline or a limit. Medieval Arabic texts often report dream visitations of the dead who communicate the state of their souls in the afterlife or deliver wisdom to their living interlocutors. Modern scholars continue to report sensations of being in dialogue with the ancient authors at the center of their research. I propose we take this model of dialogue with the souls of the dead as a foundation for a theory of pedagogy and translation. The medieval scholars whom I study agree unanimously on the importance of dreams. To disregard our own dreams, therefore, would be to adhere to a Western academic system which supports our research, but whose standards are not always appropriately imposed on other cultures or epistemological systems. Everybody dreams. Modern Western culture is unusual, as I just said, in disregarding this, and I would like to seek a responsible and rigorous path by which to allow the wisdom of dreams and intuitions to speak to us at the limit of Western philological methods. So my own research is rooted in classical philology. And I begin with an argument based on a close reading of the text itself, ending with a sort of foray into dreams in this paper that I'm working on. So I spent the first few years of my project gathering and collecting manuscripts, identifying the best readings, proposing corrections, consulting dictionaries. This briefly describes the philological method upon which the study is based. This foundation will, however, inevitably leave the translator with many questions and puzzles not yet solved. Rather than dismissing these unknowns with so many footnotes, the dream theory of translation, or pedagogy, sets up uneasy residence in these ambiguous spaces in such a way as to, quote, undermine the walls we erect against the questions we can't answer. That's Eric Davis's High Weirdness. A work in which Davis repeatedly resists explaining away, simplifying, and rationalizing those moments of visionary uncertainty that do not fit our already existing systems of knowledge. The dream theory identifies the realm of dreams as the site of weirdness. The dream realm is furthermore the appropriate location for our theory because many magical operations are meant to take effect in or through dreams. These magically induced or magically effective dreams can have a powerful impact on waking life, with the realm of dreams acting as an intermediary between worlds and a site at which meanings can be translated across modes of reality. This leads us to the path of the dream translation. There's an essay by a man named Sharif Ahmedov, who is a translator of Borges into Uzbek, called Metamorphosis of a Dream. He talks about the story of Kubla Khan's dream palace and its construction across time and space. As is well known, Coleridge dreamed his poem Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a fragment, after reading a line or two on the subject and taking opium. So Ahmed tells us that what Coleridge didn't know is that Kubla Khan also thought of the palace in a dream. First of all, he dreamed of the palace, tried to create the palace, partially. Later, Coleridge dreamed of Kubla Khan dreaming the palace and tried to create the palace. And essentially what he's saying is this palace exists in the realm of dreams and is constantly in the process of being constructed across time and space by various scholars and poets and emperors. The Borgesian argument develops from there, and now Kubla Khan, Coleridge, Borges, and Ahmed himself all participate in this partial translation of a dream palace. If we view the historical grimoires our students will study on this MA as works not only concerned with dreams, but as dream works, like this palace, this helps us orient ourselves to their interpretation, reception, and translation. It is clear that our manuscripts are corrupt, the work of generations of befuddled scribes without the oral line of transmission from master to student that would help to clarify errors. But it is unlikely that every word of these ancient grimoires was ever crystal clear. Like a dream, the details are always melting away into darkness. This is the nature of the occult. To consider the act of translation of such a text not as a hopeless task doomed from the start by these ambiguities, but rather as an ongoing conversation with the dead, and with the meanings just beyond the reach of human understanding, puts us in the correct balance of humility and confidence to honor this tradition. In sum, my translation and pedagogical philosophy uneasily wavers between the traditional demands of philological rigor and the sense that the root of the power of magical language is poetic inspiration. Perhaps ideally, a translation or study of Sakaki's invocations, the guy I'm studying, would also stem from the unification of philosophy with inspiration. So as an example of this, I'm going to tell you an invocation to the demon Shalhab. He's a terrifying demon. Sakaki says that although he's terrifying, when you meet him, don't be afraid. His ritual keeps bringing itself to my attention in eerily coincidental ways, giving the impression that he, and not the Leverhulme Trust, has been the true patron of my study. What I'm about to read is a partial translation with none of the surrounding ritual. This is an excerpt from a scholarly translation to be published with Brill. I say all this to reassure you. And although Sakaki himself warns us that mispronouncing the words in his invocation could lead to death, the manuscript tradition as it came to me was already hopelessly corrupt. It was probably already like that by the time it came to Sakaki. The consonants are probably wrong, the vowels are definitely wrong, and I have probably misinterpreted the little of it that does make sense. There are lots of scholarly footnotes in my translation, though I won't read them to you now. If I were to deliver this passage in a dry scholarly tone, few would question the prudence of the speech act I'm about to perform. But the fact that I have attempted to render it into some sort of poetry, which I will now recite, makes me at least uncomfortable. And I'm just raising the question about the line that we're about to walk between scholarship and ritual with this little, here, let me drink some water first. I conjure Do you think, I'm doing it. I conjure you, O Shauhab, son of Father Bitter, by the right of Satan, and by the right of Lakis, white and black, O mighty one of the severe tormenting dominion, yours is the Godhead of land and sea. By the right of O Kastantail and O Jarjakjail, take vengeance. O pitch of black the refractor, and O Katil the killer, hated angel of God. O Shauhab, daughter of Father Bitter, the gem lease with your white brother in the Lakis. O Harka, O Mar Ma no Shauhab, by the right of the seal of the hidden words, O la shati ka hati ha kafi ka ham ha yil, flare of brothers, O kasli ma kamiya fahma al safi kam, brother of brothers, fire poker bluish of eye, O abu o barkashatin, march markahin, O rakshahin, O sin of sin, O desire of el hadu, and O karka, pledge of Jafun Barnoon, of you is the brother, the lover, the bounty, the countenance of Kashanaka and Farwanaka and Hashinaka. O white of black, O Shauhab, I shall be. I'm just looking to see if he's here. During the years, I've done this before and it didn't, nothing bad happened yet. During the years in which I have studied and translated the Book of the Complete, I have had dozens of dreams related to the project, which have influenced my understanding of the text in more ways than I can count. I will conclude by relating one of these dreams. The insight which I derive from this dream are not, I believe, controversial or startling in themselves, and could have easily been supported with reference to less dubiously scholarly sources of information. But to do so would have been to fail to cite my source out of embarrassment. This embarrassment indeed stems from a valid objection to the use of dreams for research purposes, which is that it is unclear where they derive their authority from, if they have any authority at all. Dreams are text whose author is not known. The author of the dream that I present here is not the author of this presentation, i.e. Emily Selove's conscious mind. Call it what you will, subconscious mind or spirits of the dead. Either way, this author is ultimately not fully knowable or rationally understandable. I refer to this unknowable authority precisely as a way of grappling with those areas of unknowable uncertainty which lie beyond the limits of my philological methodology, which limits are too many and too obvious to ignore. I copy here directly from my dream journal. I meet the scribe of the original manuscript, the son of the man who wrote it, and shake his hand. It is thin and weak. Shaking hands is a novelty to him. He seems like a nice kid. We discuss some of the errors in the manuscript, some already there by the time he copied it from his father's notes, and some which he introduced in carelessness and ignorance. I verify that a list I translated is negated by lat, no, at the beginning. The first words of the text, written like a salutation of a letter, are a colloquial version of don't worry, don't fret. He admires my cooking. So briefly, this is a dream about a scribe with a weak hand, working with a corrupt text, unfamiliar with me and my culture and the gesture of reaching out my hand to shake, and working in an esoteric tradition that doesn't actually have room for people like me, women not in a state of ritual purity, to actually participate, so actually quite a closed tradition. Yet nevertheless, he takes my hand, he shakes it, he talks about the fact that the word no was missing from the beginning of a paragraph, which completely altered the entire paragraph, and it's exactly the kind of thing that can go wrong in the transmission of these texts. And yet, nevertheless, he reaches across the centuries, shakes my hand, says, don't worry, and he admires my cooking. Thank you very much.